The 26th of December 2022, St. Stephen's Day in Ireland or Boxing Day in Britain, and there's been a hard frost during the night. There are rosette and floral designs on car bonnets where you got that type of a Jack Frost effect. It's calm enough out. Now I'm dealing with this thing of the Ponzi scheme and how much of our whole world, or a young person being born or a child being born, it will live their whole lives with a whole lot of falsehoods all around them. And that includes false advertising. There's an advertisement there on YouTube about some kind of a miracle room heating device. That has to be a fake. That breaks the laws of physics. And advertising whiter than white for your Daz and your washing powder and all of these things. You're just hit with all this stuff, and straight away you need a firewall in your head. You need some way to separate out the fake news from the real news. Now if somebody comes up with a new type of electric drill which doesn't have a cable, which can use a battery, then that has obvious applications, and it's no harm to advertise that and let you know about it. That's good advertising. Or if there's some new animal remedy on the market which has been tested and proved, then that's no harm either. But there's so much room then to have, alongside of the genuine advertisements, the genuine news, fake all the way. And so I, in my lifetime, don't like being made a fool of, and that's why I type it to tell my friends and my viewers how to spot the difference between real advertising, something good product or something else, and fakery and people trying to make fools of us. Because when somebody tries to make a fool of me, that's an insult. They're effectively saying to you, I'm smarter than you, you're an idiot. That's what's happening. If you fall for these things, you are not intelligent, and you have to accept the blow to your self-esteem that you're just not in the same bracket as people who are smart. I don't claim to be very smart, but I'm not easily fooled. Not easily fooled at all. And in my teens, I could spot the impact of inflation. I was one of the few people in my community who could see how printing money by the government, inflating, affected the way your value all around you. And many people could not see that. Now, one of the great ways of getting over a Ponzi scheme, and I've dealt with the three, Bernard Madoff, I've dealt with Sam Bankman-Fried, and I've dealt with the one in Cavan, I don't want to name names, and how so many people were left without their money and ended up maybe being paid a few years later or that, and some never paid at all. And if the money's gone, and if it's squandered or it's gambled and it'll never come back. Now, the thing is, one of the secrets, however, of not being convicted and going to jail for a Ponzi scheme is to have it in a way that will fool the police. Because if the police get in on a Ponzi scheme, you're caught, because they have the whole state, they can prosecute you. See? So if the police get in on that, you're caught. So you don't want the police in, and you don't want anyone to spot you. You don't want regulators. The quieter you can have your Ponzi scheme, the better. And one of the great ways of doing that is on energy. Energy, Ponzi schemes, energy. Okay? So because people do not understand the complex issue of energy and how it works and how it involves the speeding up of the particles in an atom, and you cannot put electricity into a plastic bag or a suitcase or a box. Because of that, it's a much better way of fooling the people. And if you can fool the government, then you have a government-sponsored Ponzi scheme, and that's airtight. You can't be caught. Now, the returns will not be as good. The Cavan Ponzi scheme was promising 56% interest per year. So you're not going to get that on any particular Ponzi scheme. But in the case of wind energy, they had a model to build and sell on to an unsuspecting finance house. And some of them did make quite a lot of money. I have put so much effort into warning people not to be fooled by this. You had Richard Bruton, the Fine Gael minister in Ireland, asking people to invest in wind energy. And then now we have them capping the price of wind energy. So you can see what they did. They gave the wind energy the same price as the fuel. And the result is they're making money, but with a collapsing electricity grid. Now the thing about the wind energy is, if you go online there, you'll see what it's producing, and they just count whatever energy is coming in, whatever electricity is coming in. If it's 50%, oh great. But what they don't tell you is that if they're to run the fossil fuel power alongside of that, they have to start up the coal, oil, and gas fired steam plant, which is efficient, and it takes 9 hours to start it up, and you cannot have it starting up and down. So all that's happening when the wind is blowing well is the the fossil fuel uh, condensing steam efficient plant is pulled out but left running hot. So the steam is blowing off and all the rest. And then when the wind drops suddenly, they can get it going again. They either have that way of doing it, or they have open cycle gas plants and diesel engines which can start up immediately and are as inefficient. When all is done, when you count it all, I have claimed that the wind energy is a net consumer of electricity, but others, including Dr. Kees Laquare and another man in Belgium, claim that it saves 40% of its capacity. Sorry, 4%, 4%. So we have currently 4,000 megawatts of wind energy, and we're saving 4% of that in coal, oil, and gas. And I make that 160 megawatts, which is about half of a small gas-fired power station. It's saving just that little bit. But then you're not counting the cost of making them, installing them, removing them, servicing them, the oil going up and down, running generators to keep them running when there's no wind, to keep them from freezing and all that. So all told, it's very minor. And when Hardy comes to Hardy, irrespective of what the wind is doing, it may be doing nothing, it may be doing a little, and it may be doing a lot. And if it's doing a lot, you still need at least 40% of the grid fossil fuel. They have never run any grid on 100% wind energy or a combination of wind and solar energy. They'll always tell you they have a magic solution down the road, and that's how they keep going. We are working and working and working and working, but the bottom line is they never assessed how it's doing it. So by getting into wind energy, you get into the Ponzi scheme, and then they've persuaded the government to give such high prices that the government now finds it's paying the bills for the ordinary people. This is how ridiculous these people are, but there's going to be no wind energy company going to prison. You can be sure of that, because you have a gulf between the real Ponzi scheme, which is easy for police to spot and regulators, and this other more well-designed Ponzi scheme, which is not so easy and very hard to convict. So they can ride off into the sunshine when people finally realise they've been made silly fools of. Now, the thing about it is, there's another thing there, is heat pumps. Now, I can only give my honest opinion. To me, you can have different types. You have air heat pumps, which take heat from the air and cool from the air, and you have ones where you put a whole lot of coils of piping down the field. And I have land, I could put them for 500 meters if I wanted to. A coil of unit air pipe is hydrod air, whatever you call it, black pipe, plastic pipe. It's about 180 with VAT and all, so there's 150 meters, so you wouldn't be long till you'd have enough of it, and you can join it on the ground. But I failed to see the point. The temperature underground, I've made videos on that before. This time of year in the winter, it's about 7%, 7 degrees centigrade, but 7 degrees centigrade. It rises a bit in the summer because it's ultimately rainwater that's falling. So the rainwater falls down and it comes through the ground into springs that I have on my land, and I measure it, and it's about 7 to 8%, 7 to 8 degrees centigrade. That's the temperature. Now, what they're telling me is you can use a fridge in reverse, which I fully understand. I know exactly how they work. And using electricity, you can draw out the heat that's in that's 7 degrees, and use it to cool the water. And in doing so, you have the heat taken out into your home. To me, that's a load of absolute animal manure, horse dung. That's all that is. You're running it on electricity, fossil fuel electricity. And Eamon Ryan passed laws, the Irish Energy Minister. You will not get the grants for heat pumps unless you have an absolute first-class insulation in the house. And if you had first-class insulation in the house, you could heat your house either with open fires or with diesel oil or gas or an outdoor wood pellet boiler or anything else. If you have the house well enough insulated, you will benefit from that. But what the government does, and Ryan must know well, it's a scam. They only give the grant where you have everything spent on the insulation. So why is that? The reason is that the heat pump itself is a Ponzi scheme. It's not real. You cannot do that. That does not make sense. It's breaking the laws of thermodynamics. If you could do that, well then what's to stop? What's to stop you having a power station running on that principle? Now, there's a video online called Heat Pumps, Secrets They Don't Want You to Know. Go on YouTube. Heat Pumps, Secrets They Do Not Want You to Know. I'll try and get the author of it now in a second.
Because all I'm saying is that there are places where heat pumps will work well, there are places where they will work less well, there are places where they will save you money, and there are places where they won't save you money under any circumstances. And the problem is that the salesman or saleswoman is not necessarily going to tell you the truth. We have had some comments from some people who said, I got the guy round to have a look at having a heat pump fitted and he told me not to bother. And it's those kind of installers and they do that.
Now, I think that guy mentions a Jeremy Vine. He must be some television personality. I don't watch personality or television at all, rarely. But you can see there, that's the video. Now, I won't play any more of it. There's a possibility this video will be cut for that, and I may have to make it again because of showing his thing. But that's well worth looking at there. Now, another thing that I saw recently. Now, this is out of The Independent. A man claims to be facing a £7,000 sterling energy bill. That'd be electricity bill. See, they don't say electricity. They always try and separate, include gas and electricity in the same handle or the same caption as energy. They're two different types of energy. So he's facing £7,000 sterling bill after replacing his heating system with a £25,000 government-backed green heat pump. Green heat pump, right? Note the word green. Who says it's green? Officials are currently providing grants of up to £5,000 to homeowners to remove gas central heating and hot water systems and replace it with a heat pump. See, this is the government Ponzi scheme, you see. So anyway, you'll see that there, and there's all these stories. The reason is, if you want good heat, you have to turn up the heat. You have to turn it up, and then therefore you're going to be paying the same bill. You're going to be paying more. It's just an electricity heating system. That's all it is. It's an electricity heating system. There it's there. There it's there. And it begs the question, why not run an efficient diesel engine? Well, why not have a diesel generator then if this works? But if you have the diesel generator, why not make it drive convection heaters? These things are on the go a long time, and if they were as successful as they say, you'd have buildings all over the place. Where do you see government buildings or anything else? Now, I know that current regulations is forcing their installation. And you see, as the green scam gets traction, everything switches to something the customer cannot put in a bag, but still has to pay for. And that is electrical energy. You can't see it, so you don't know what it's doing, but you get the bill and you realize you're not able to pay it. Do you understand that, folks? The Ponzi scheme has to fool the people. It has to be something that can't be seen. It cannot be a liquid like petrol or diesel or gasoline. It has to be something like electricity, right? These things are said to take out this heat using electricity. If they can take the heat out of the ground and put it into your house, why do they need electricity? The answer is it's a scam. They'll only give you the grant when you have all the top insulation and top fuel efficiency for your house and rating, and then they give you the grant, and then they brag about this. Why? Because our government, the people that run these companies, are making money. The same as they got and persuaded government to give top dollar for wind energy and link it to fuel. They're making money. And so this is how the Ponzi scheme worked. In a right world, everything would have a value which would be equal to what it's actually worth. Now, people will get on to me there and say, oh, I have heat pump and I have heat pump. The first thing I want to know, is your house insulated? What degree of insulation? I want to talk about an ordinary bungalow, such as you'd get in Britain or Ireland, or even in the United States. I'm not interested in, oh, I built such a great house. If you build a house and insulate it enough, very little would be needed. And it doesn't matter whether you're using kerosene, a space heater, or an open fire, or whatever, or a range, or whatever you have, you'll have a warm house if you go to that extreme and expense. So that's my point. It does not make sense to me that you can use a fridge in reverse, which compresses the air, so it then releases or compresses a medium or some type of a substance, and then it releases heat and cold, and you freeze the outside air and you warm the air inside. That can only be done by using electricity. It can't be done by any other method. So why are we falling for this? Why are we falling for this? Now there's a discussion forum here, and this man makes the comment about the air too. My prior research on air source heat pumps, that's the one, that's not the coil of pipe under the ground, that's the air source with the fan. And incidentally, the wind will blow the fan round the wrong way. And if the wind blows the fan round the wrong way, it damages the whole thing. Imagine, it's a fan. What do you expect it to do in the wind? Isn't that what the wind turbines are supposed to do? When I was curious, I strongly suggest that they are not suitable for our winters. No, they're not suitable for the winter, folks. They're great in the summer. You know, a heat pump. This is the stupidity of people. And could not heat up a property adequately when the temperature drops below a certain threshold. I've subsequently read lots of people complaining about air source heat pumps that have been installed via various efficiency drives. Both noise, terrible noise, you'll have problems with your neighbours, constantly running, the property being cold, noise, constantly running. You have to leave the air source heat pump running all night long. All night long. In this house here, there's an oil system. You put it on in the morning at 7 o'clock when people are getting up, and you have a bit of heat. And you can put it on in the evening, and if you're going out, you can switch it off. You leave the heat pump all the time. ALL. Sorry for shouting at you, but I do get frustrated at the ignorance of people. And the cold houses, they're cold inside in the houses. I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole and see a significant technological improvement to make them viable. Well, you can't have a technological improvement for something which breaks the laws of physics. The laws of physics cannot be broken, folks. Now, I know people with a new house who told me they had the heat pump, the air-type heat pump installed with the fan on it, and that it costs €100 a month in electricity. But that was before the current increase. So electricity has doubled, so that'll be €200 a month. But I don't believe, they also have coal fires, of course. I do not believe these things work at all. You're as well just take the electricity and put in a convection heater or a blow heater, or some kind of a heater that uses electricity. You'd have the same result. That's my impression. How you can do some kind of a wonderful thing like a fridge in reverse and break the whole laws of physics defies me. I might be wrong on that. They're a scam. They're just another Ponzi scheme, another way for companies to send around young fellas and talk the talk and get your heat pumps installed, and then they're gone. There's no protection under any Trade Descriptions Act or Selling Protection Act or contract law or anything else. They've installed it. You try proving that in a court, you'll get nowhere. The best and cheapest source of heat is oil, is coal, C-O-I-L, coal. If you have your own turf, that's good if they let you cut it. Firewood is excellent. Firewood and coal is a great mix. Gas works too if you can get it. If there's gas, particularly if there's natural gas. Otherwise you have to be filling the big tank. And oil heating, the diesel or the paraffin oil, is excellent because with the coal you have trouble lighting it. They're hard to light, and they can give, just when you want to eat, they won't light. Whereas the oil, it comes on straight away. Folks, that's my view. People are idiots. They're just idiots. And I can only try to teach them that there are idiots, and the first thing you have to do is get out of denial and admit that they're idiots, and then there's some hope of recovery.